It was a bright autumn morning at Arlington Naval Base, the kind of day that smelled faintly of rain and brass polish. Rows of flags fluttered against a restless sky, and a sea of uniforms, fresh blues, starched whites, and the proud medals of time shimmered across the courtyard. The Navy had gathered to honor veterans of the Afghanistan War. A new monument was to be unveiled, a tall slab of stone engraved with hundreds of names, etched in silent remembrance of those who never made it home. Admiral Thomas Reeves stood at the podium, a man whose authority carried both the weight of command and the ache of memory. He was in his late 50s, broad-shouldered, his eyes sharp with years of service. As he gave his speech about courage, sacrifice, and the duty of remembrance, his gaze fell on an elderly man in the front row. The man sat quietly, his posture slightly hunched, his hands folded over a cane polished smooth by time. His jacket was simple, gray, with only one patch sewn on the sleeve, a faded emblem with the words Task Force Falcon. The old man's hair was silver and cut short, his face lined not just by age but by something deeper, something that looked like ghosts had once walked through him and never left. After the applause faded and the crowd began to disperse, Admiral Reeves stepped down from the stage. He made his way toward the old veteran. Something about the man's presence pulled him closer. A memory, maybe. A sense of déjà vu. "Sir," the Admiral greeted, extending a hand, "I couldn't help noticing your patch. Task Force Falcon Afghanistan, wasn't it?" The old man smiled faintly, his grip firm despite the tremor in his fingers. "Afghanistan," he said quietly. "A lifetime ago." "What was your unit?" Reeves asked, almost conversationally. The veteran looked up, and his pale blue eyes seemed to look through the Admiral, past the years, into something long buried. "Ghost Squadron," he said softly. "Call sign, Ghost 5. For a long moment, Admiral Reeves didn't speak. His face froze, and something inside him seemed to crack. The color drained from his skin. The name hit him like a gunshot. Ghost 5. The name that should have been lost. The name of a man who, according to every official report, had died 12 years ago in the mountains of Kunar. And yet here he was alive. Scene 2, The Flashback, Afghanistan, 2010. The air in Kunar was thin and cold. Mountains carved the horizon into harsh, jagged silhouettes. The sound of rotor blades thundered across the night sky as a convoy of Humvees crawled through the valley below. Reeves, then a young commander, rode in the second vehicle. His unit, Task Force Falcon, had been ordered to extract a trapped recon team Ghost Squadron from a village overrun by insurgents. The comms crackled with static and chaos. "Command, this is Ghost 5 pinned down at coordinates 17.7 north. We've got wounded. Requesting immediate evac." Reeves remembered that voice, calm under fire, steady even when death whispered inches away. It belonged to Captain David Mercer, call sign Ghost 5. They detrained together years before. Mercer was the kind of soldier people followed without question, sharp mind, big heart, and a quiet sort of bravery that didn't need medals to prove it. The firefight that night was brutal. Bullets tore through walls like rain. Mortars fell so close the earth seemed to shake from its bones. Reeves' team pushed through the valley, trying to reach the trapped Ghost Squadron. By the time they arrived, the scene was hell. Flames. Smoke. Shadows moving between gunfire. He found Mercer in the middle of it all, dragging a wounded medic out of the line of fire. Blood ran down his arm, his vest shredded. "Go!" Mercer had shouted over the roar of machine guns. "Get them out? I'll hold them off." Mercer, that's suicide. Reeves had yelled back. Mercer just smiled, shaking his head. Not if it means they live. And then he turned, laid down suppressive fire, and covered the retreat of his men as the last chopper lifted off. The mountain exploded moments later. A rocket strike took the ridge where Mercer had been standing. The comms went silent. Ghost 5 was gone. His body was never recovered. The official report listed him as killed in action. Reeves carried that guilt for years. A piece of him had died on that mountain too. Scene 3, the present back at Arlington. Admiral Reeves stared at the old veteran as if he were seeing a ghost. His mind was spinning. It couldn't be. It simply couldn't. You were Ghost 5, Reeves managed to whisper. The old man nodded once, eyes tired. Was. A long time ago. Reeves struggled to breathe. But we thought you were dead. We buried your name. I know, Mercer said quietly. And maybe that was for the best. They sat together on a bench near the memorial as the crowd thinned, silence stretching between them. Reeves could hear the faint rustle of flags, the distant hum of a bugle playing taps. Finally, he asked, "How did you make it out?" Mercer looked down at his hands, at the scars running across his knuckles. After the ridge went up, I woke up half buried under rock and dirt. Shrapnel in my leg, radio gone, everything burning. The locals found me. A farmer and his boy. They hid me for weeks, risked their lives doing it. He paused, his voice thickening. By the time I could move, the valley was crawling with enemy patrols. The village that helped me was burned down. I made it out through the mountains, crossed into Pakistan. Took me months. I didn't think anyone would believe I'd survived. And I didn't want to bring more pain to the families of the men we lost. So I stayed gone. Reeves stared at him, unable to find words. Mercer smiled faintly. You moved on, Tom. You became Admiral Reeves? You carried the Navy forward. That's what mattered. But you could have come home. Mercer shook his head. Home's a tricky word when half the people who knew you are ghosts. Scene 4, the revelation. Reeves leaned forward, his voice trembling. Why come here today after all these years? Mercer's eyes softened as he looked at the monument. Because they were my men too. I wanted to see their names one last time before I go. There was silence again, deep, heavy, sacred. The kind that only soldiers understand. Mercer reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, weathered dog tag, bent, blackened, the letters nearly unreadable. He placed it in Reeves's palm. It read, Mercer, David. Ghost 5. I kept it, he said. A reminder that I owed the world a few good years after what they gave me. Reeves swallowed hard. What did you do all these years? Mercer smiled faintly. Lived quiet. Helped where I could. There's a shelter near Norfolk helps homeless vets. I fix things. Talk to the young ones who come in angry and lost. You'd be surprised how many ghosts still walk around wearing new names. The Admiral's eyes glistened. He had led fleets, commanded thousands, but in that moment, sitting beside a forgotten hero, he had never felt smaller. Scene 5, the emotional climax. A small group of cadets approached the monument, led by a young lieutenant. They were reading the engraved names aloud, one by one, in honor of the fallen. When they reached the G section, the lieutenant's voice faltered. Captain David Mercer, Ghost 5. The name echoed softly through the courtyard. Reeves turned to Mercer. The old man's gaze was fixed on the stone, his eyes shining in the autumn light. He raised a trembling hand in salute. The cadets noticed. One of them, a young man barely 20, stepped closer. "Sir," he said respectfully, "you served with him." Mercer smiled. "You could say that." The cadet nodded, not realizing he was speaking to the man whose name he had just read from the wall. When the group moved on, Reeves whispered, "Your name's carved there, Dave. You know what that means?" Mercer nodded slowly. "Yeah. It means I've already had my funeral. Everything after that is borrowed time." Reeves's voice broke. "You deserve to be remembered as more than a ghost." Mercer's gaze stayed on the names. "No, Tom. I'm right where I belong with them. The living don't need to remember my name. They just need to live the way those names would have wanted them to." He smiled faintly. "That's enough. Dash dash." Scene 6, the final farewell. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the flagpoles and the shadows grew long, Reeves went to look for Mercer again. The bench was empty. Only the cane leaned against it. A folded note rested beneath it. Reeves opened it, his hands trembling. The handwriting was firm, old-fashioned. "Tom, thank you for letting an old ghost come home, even for a day. Don't change the records. The world doesn't need Captain Mercer back, it just needs men like him to keep living through others. If you ever find yourself near Norfolk, look for the little shelter by the pier. There's a flag on the wall, signed by everyone who found their way back. Tell them Ghost 5 finally went home." DM Reeves stood there a long time, the wind carrying the faint echo of the bugle call across the courtyard. The monument gleamed in the fading light. He raised his hand in salute, tears streaking down the lines of his face. "Rest easy, Ghost 5, he whispered. "You made it home after all." Dash dash. Epilogue. A month later, Admiral Reeves visited the Norfolk Veterans Shelter. In a quiet corner near the pier, he found a small wooden plaque hanging above a folded flag. It read, "In memory of the one who came back so others could find their way. Ghost 5." And below it, a list of signatures, young veterans, men and women who had rebuilt their lives with the help of one anonymous volunteer. Reeves smiled softly, his heart heavy yet full. Sometimes heroes don't die. Sometimes they simply fade into the world they saved quietly, hum.